Evening, everybody. It's 5:37, and this is your closing comment for Thursday, March the 2nd, and it is video number 1685. We're getting up there. Okay, so it was an interesting day because the markets were really divergent. The action in CRM overshadowed absolutely everything else in the Dow. And uh, early on, even though it was slightly up on the day, the advanced declines, or pardon me, the advancing declining volume was 6-1 on the downside, which is interesting because at the end of the day in the Dow, excuse me, we were 6-1 to the upside, 24 stocks up, 6 down. The only one of any consequence, of course, was CRM, which added over a third of today's move all by itself. We closed up 341.73, which is just over a percent. And with the exception of a few stocks, those being the ones that were higher, I mean, substantially higher. The top there was Boeing up about 35 and a couple of others in the general 30 area. So this was a big move, but let's remember it was 33% one name. And by the way, as good as that name was and as strong as it was this morning, I think it had, when I mentioned it this morning, it was 193 and change. Um, it finished 186.93, which was still up 11.7%, up $19.58. However, it also closed pretty close to the low. And I would think that we'll see a little bit of profit taking there tomorrow if it doesn't continue up. Um, Other stocks in the news today, we had a bunch of earnings. But let's just go back 1 second. I just want to remember something, and that is that the market, which started to rally, happened right after BOSTIC spoke. And he was talking about 5.25% terminal rate, which is interesting. He's not a voting member until next year. And he said exactly the opposite of Neil Kashkari, who is a voting member, that said it this morning, that he saw 5.75 or more and holding it for longer. So, we have this stubborn employment, unemployment initial claims down again, 190 versus 195 expected. And we also had unit labor costs up 3.2, and expectation there was 1.6. So higher wages, less unemployment, and I can only say that the market, like most of its participants, hear what they want to hear and act on what they want to act on. Unfortunately for me and a couple of others in the Discord room, we acted on the biggest loser of the day today, Silvergate. Um, I was using it as a buy and right, as were a bunch of my people, but when a stock closes at $5.72, down $7.81, there's not much in the way of writing you can do to protect that. Okay, so we also, after the close, MRVL beat on revenues, missed on earnings. The stock had closed regular hours at 43 up 87 cents, or just under 2%. It actually traded up on the headline to 46.97 and then traded down to 43. The last is 43 and a half, down $1.86 or 4.1. So it went from up to down 4%. Zscaler, same situation, but the headline number was actually good. The stock had closed 134.13, up 569 or 4.5%. It then traded up to 140.80, which would have been up about 11, and then it collapsed down on, the minutia of the numbers came out, traded down to 116.40. So basically, it moved up 6 and then down 24. The last there is 118.70, down 974 or 7.5%. Charge point generally in line, but not great. The stock had closed at 1126, up 18, traded down to 923. Last is 974, and that's down about 12%. Costco missed on revenues. Evidently, the holiday season was not as good as they thought, even though they beat on earnings. Again, I remind you, you could do whatever you want to jerk around the earnings number, but you can't do anything about the revenues, and that's where they were weak. The stock closed up at 485.69, which was up about $7, traded up to 496.94 on the earnings beat, and then came right back down. Last is 473.88, which is down 285. So up 7 to down 3. The only one that really stood out to me today was Macy's. I mean, we had so-so numbers coming out of Best Buy, which is, retail. We had so-so numbers coming out of KSS, Kohl's, this morning. But Macy's, which this morning was 23.22, up 279 or 13%. They gave good guidance, and the stock managed to hold on to the majority of that move. We closed 22.65, up $2.22 or 11%. Chart on the screen is the copper. A little bit of disappointment here for me. But we did close right on the line here. I would have rather have seen it above that line, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. As you can see, the 5-day is still rolling to the upside, and if we do have that kind of move, I think we're set up pretty much the same way that on the 5 and 20 days, midway, pretty much like the nat gas was set up as it went through to the upside. By the way, today's low was also right on that 50-day moving average. So we can roll back to the upside here and break. I'm still looking at 430 to 440. The rest of those markets, gold was down 490, silver was down 20 cents, Bitcoin up 60. It's gotten very quiet. The dollar was up 56 cents, not a great thing for our international company trading. And the bonds were down again, a little over a point. Same thing, they were down yesterday. Nat gas was down 5, but that doesn't bother me at all. I like the way the nat gas is acting. Let's just pull it up here. It was only down 4.5 cents, and you got to give it credit. It just came from 210 to 286, and it's only pulled back a little. And that 5 and 20 did cross here, and we're riding the 5-day up. Next major resistance is right in this 3 to 315 area. Okay, as far as tomorrow, let's see, we have February IHS Market Services PMI final. The prior was 50.5. That's not until 9:45. And the February ISM PMI Services PMI also at 9:45. Briefing consensus is 54.5 versus 55.2, and that's at 10 a.m. Also, the yield curve, the 2 to 10, came in ever so slightly today. Unfortunately, that's because the 10-year blasted above 4 and moved as high as 407, 408. So that's actually a pretty ugly looking situation. We had mortgage rates pop up to 7.1%. So that's going to slow down that part of the economy. All right, everyone. Have a good morning. I'll be back first, a good day. I'll be back first thing in the morning with your pre-open.